So on with tonight's event. So public speaking, it's one of life's, I think it's renowned to be one of life's most feared activities, and something I've struggled with as well in the past. And I had the pleasure actually of being on one of John's seminars that he ran through my workplace, and it was a fantastic session. I came out buzzing, feeling way more confident than I did before, which is why I wanted to invite John to speak with you tonight, because I thought that that knowledge should be shared. So John has been in his previous life a designer at several games companies and also a comic. I didn't realize that, but John was a comic for a number of years as well. Clearly knows how to engage and motivate through that. He's now a coach and a speaker, communicator, and runs many workshop sessions and speaks mainly in London and Cambridge with many clients at the moment. That's a very, very brief introduction. I know John will introduce himself, but we're very delighted, John, to have you. Thank you for giving up your evening to spend with us. I know everyone really appreciates it. So take it away, John. I'll hand the stage over to you. Please give a
Fantastic.
warm welcome, everyone, to John Torrens.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tom Mohammed. Much appreciated. Right. So we have about an hour, just over an hour of me. But just to break it down, I'm going to talk about how to create great material, talk about how to engage an audience. And part way through, we'll have a look, some breakout rooms, or we'll get you to have a chat with each other and then come back and discuss what you've talked about there. And we'll also look at mindset and feeling confident, which is basically the sort of end result of the whole thing. So, uh, where are we? I think it's fair to say that the standard for speaking in this country is pretty low, right? So generally people get up to speak and they might not be very good at it, they might not enjoy it. Therefore, I believe there's a huge potential to have a great impact, to do well by simply doing more work than most people are prepared to put in. And I think basically every important thing that we want to do is on the other side of some discomfort, possibly even pain. And I think if you attack your public speaking, then you will improve it and you will feel more confident and you'll just be a lot better at it. I believe that confidence is not a gift. I think it's speaking confidence is certainly something that you can learn, you can develop. It's a muscle. It needs to be exercised. It needs to be grown. So I'm going to show you how to look confident, how to feel confident, be persuasive, and raise your status in any kind of speaking situation. So I should introduce myself properly. I think the best information, the best communication generally has a story at its start, at its heart. So I'm going to tell you my story. So at school, I did pretty badly academically. My brain is almost certainly an ADHD brain. It sort of pings around a lot. So I can remember lots of little bits of information, but storing useful information was always going to be a challenge. So I got very interested in art, which I was good at, and I got interested in writing stories. So art was going to be my thing. I grew up in Cheltenham and Bristol and did a art foundation course, got very interested in video editing, went to London to do a graphic design course, got even more interested in video editing, and then left college thinking I would be a video editor, even though I'd studied graphic design. Then a friend of mine, very soon after that, who'd been on the graphic design course, got a job at a video games company. This was in the early 90s, and said, "Hey, why don't you come and see if you can get a job here? We need a level designer." So I went there, got the job, and became a level designer, which was great. And then immediately after I'd started there, I thought, well, I'd also like to do stand-up comedy. And there was a programmer there who was also interested in doing it. So we started doing that. And when you're wired the way that I am, the unequivocal approval from a group of strangers, which you can get when a stand-up comedy gig goes well, that's highly addictive, right? When people say, "Oh, it takes a lot of courage to do stand-up comedy," and it does. It absolutely indicates that I had a lot of courage, but it also indicates a huge need for validation. Okay, so it's just that desperate seeking of approval, and that was really good fun. So I got hooked on that, and so like a sort of because I count myself as an introvert, like a sort of weird introverted superhero. By day, I was designing video games levels, and by night, I was going out and trying to make people laugh for money and the attention. And that was great fun. And I did, yeah, those two things for about 10 years side by side. Then I went full time at stand-up comedy, which was great. I did that for a couple of years. And then after a couple of years, my partner said, what's the plan with this stand-up comedy thing? And of course, I had no plan at all. So I went back to video games, got a job at Sony Cambridge. That was at the end of 2006. And so she and I moved out of London, moved to Ely, which is where we live now. And I was working at Sony Cambridge, which was great. And I was crumbing up with ideas for games and pitching ideas and stuff. And then I saw someone from pretty senior figure at Sony Computer Entertainment Europe, for whom I worked, giving a dreadful presentation, and I thought, oh, they need those things. Like I'd learned all this stuff from stand up, which I'd given up on. They need a good story, and they need to sell it as if they are a human being. And so this bubbled around for a while, and then I worked at another games company, and then I set up on my own as a communication coach, and I've been doing that for 12 and a half years, and so that's worked, which is brilliant. So I've sort of found my place in the world, and I coach people in groups and one to one. Other things you should know about me: I'm basically a huge nerd, so there are various things here. These are like little signals and flags, and if you recognize any of those things, then good for you. This probably needs to be turned a little bit. That's better. Now you can see what it is. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy painting that. Anyway, and then there's various books and comics and things. So I love science fiction. I like fantasy as well. I like comics. I like superheroes, and a bit of D&D and good stories as well. Neil, what are you doing? Are you just Neil's doing something very important, and rather than camera off, has just gone paper in front of the camera. So it's a legitimate thing. I mean, it's good. You need really opaque paper. We can see you. We can see you through the paper now. Um, and what else? So yeah, so I'm married with two kids. Our son is 17, daughter is 14, and I like running. I'm going on a bit of a weight loss journey and fitness journey, which incidentally involves me giving up caffeine. So I had my last coffee on Sunday, and I feel dreadful. So there's a certain filter that's been removed where I just feel really fatigued. I was thinking, yeah, maybe it's just the food or the run I went. I went on a run. That's probably it. No, I know it's 50 hours of no caffeine. I wasn't drinking a lot, but anyway, there we are. So there's something happening there. Anyway, that's that. So that's me. There are probably other things as well. I'm a hip hop fan, and I love anything from the 80s. So Blackadder, any kind of music and art from the 80s, I'm also a fan of as well. Okay, so let's get into it then. How to create great material, right? How to generate the stuff. Now, this is for pretty much any speaking scenario. So I usually help people with presentations, the standing up in front of people and talking with some slides. However, these techniques are useful for all kinds of situations. This could be pitching an idea internally. This could be going for an interview, just any situation where you need to persuade that person that this thing you're talking about is worth buying into. So how to create the stuff. I've created a technique. I think it's really good. Oh, and by the way, yeah, feel free to fire questions as we go and drop in any references at all, because it's just good fun. Um, yeah, and anything that's relevant to this stuff. So yeah, I like to create material in a particular way, and I'm going to tell you that technique because I think it's great, and yeah, I think I've invented it. And basically, it involves writing down. There are no slides in this session. Yes, thank you. Sorry, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, this is it. This is the this is the visual you're getting. But you could do a transcript from the video, I guess, and then chat GPT at the key points. That's what I would do. I'm quite a fan of ChatGPT. That's another story. So what I like to do is write down key headings on bits of paper. So I'm going no tech for this because I find it's the best way to actually lay out the information. So let's say for whatever you're going to be talking about, let's say there's a stand up in front of people situation. So it's important. Maybe it's to a client, maybe it's to someone senior at your company. Write the different sections on separate pieces of paper. So those could be index cards, they could be post-it notes, they could be scraps of paper. And the key here is that it's fluid. You can move them around, which might seem obvious, but a spider diagram or mind map is great. I love those. I can see the connections between the different areas. That's wonderful, but it is static. With this method, you can move the stuff around. So you write down, let's say you've got 5 sections, maybe you've got 10 sections, but let's say you've got 5 sections, you write them on separate bits of paper, and then you move them around and you experiment with that sequence. Does that work? Do you want to start with this particular thing? Do you want to end with this particular thing? I think, and I like to put people under pressure for when creating material because it's great to see how quickly you can create the first draft of any talk. It's really good if you are under pressure. Think of what you want to end with, right? I mean, the very last thing might be a call to action. It might even be thank you, but that key thing, this is what you want them to think about. It's good to start with that or have that first before you get everything else down, or at least nail that. Yes, people will remember the first bit and they'll remember some other bits of content, but that last thing, you could have a great talk and then it, limps over the finish line and then that's what people remember. So I would start with that. How do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do? What's the key thing? And then, as I say, experiment with that structure. How do you want to kick things off? Well, here's a question then. So here's one for you before I continue with that technique. What's a great way to kick off a talk in terms of material, right? We'll get into the whole delivery and how you grab an audience's attention, but how do you what's the first bit of material you should do? Just throw something in there, and I'll tell you if I think you're wrong or not. Right? Yeah, asking a question is great. That's the form in which that ideally should come. And what's the after the introduction? So these are good points. Something surprising? Yes, let's qualify that. What would be surprising? Tom, you've raised your hand. It's very polite. No one else is using that. That's
Yeah,
just
that's fine. I
that's
don't know
fine.
what you prefer.
Doesn't matter. You did the right thing. Um, So before those are all good, but what's a juicy thing? Let's say you did ask them a question, what might that be? Or what could you throw at them? I'm going to give you a clue. Um, Aristotle's three pillars of persuasion. Don't Google it. Um, right. Now I've put that idea in your mind. It'll probably happen. Anyway, I'm going to give it to you. Story or anecdote? Excellent. Well done, James. So the three pillars are things that Seneca, Aristotle thought you should include in a speech. I think they're all great ways of kicking things off. It could be a brilliant statistic or fact. So that would be logos, which is logic, empirical evidence, logical argument. And in the form of the question, thank you, Nicole, that was excellent. How many of these do you think happened last year? How many of our customers do you think did this? How many of these were sold? How many, something like that? Or, what's the percentage of people who are, again, our customers who did this thing, who actually followed through? And then you've got people thinking, right? It can be a rhetorical question, but generally people will be thinking, I really need to know the answer to this. Or they've got an idea and they want to make sure that they've got the right answer. Or if they got it wrong, make sure everyone else got it wrong. And then you hit them with it. It's this, which is where you would use a slide, perhaps 84%, and then you've got something. So that's one way of kicking off. Question over a particular stat. The other two pillars of persuasion are ethos, which are basically this is how I operate. So Andy, you said introduce yourself. This is me. This is what makes me tick. This is what drives me. So for me, and I didn't put it in mine, I would say it's helping people, it's solving problems, it's sharing the stuff that I just like, connecting with people and helping them out. But your thing might be, yeah, I love solving problems or I love helping people, or it could be I'm obsessed with stats. That's my thing. That's the key thing. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. Or what else? Yeah. I love collaborating with people. So, for example, so that's ethos. And then the third one is pathos, which is feeling, which is typically stirring some kind of emotional response from the audience. So you might ask them quite a challenging question. What do you think of this? Or, what do you make of this thing? And it could be something that really jars with them, which is quite could be something controversial. It could be, might seem risky, but it's the kind of thing that a TED talk would kick off with, right? So you might not want to do that internally. So those are the three ways of kicking off. So within your structure, you look at that, you think, right, well, here's a killer thing. Here's a great story. And someone, yeah, so Tom, you said story. You might start with no intro, right? Normally you go, well, this is me, this is what I'm going to talk about, and that's what I've done, and that's how the structures work, and that's fine. That's how we do things. But let's say there's a series of speakers and you want to stand out, obviously. If you walk out and with no introduction at all, say 6 months ago, this person was in a terrible situation. They couldn't get, they'd lost their job and they needed to pay the bills. As a result, these things were immediately were invested, right? It could be anything at all. So kicking off with that personal anecdote or with that story is a great way to grab people. So you look at this structure and you experiment with it and you see what works. As soon as you have a sequence which feels like it works, and it could be as simple as problem, solution, call to action. It might be problem, result of problem, solution, result of solution, and a bit more depth, and you can populate all these sections later. As soon as you've got something that works, you then do a verbal run through. Okay, so even if it's for a 20-minute, 40-minute piece, and running through it would only take a few minutes, here's another direct question for you. What are the key benefits of saying the words out loud? What's the, yeah, what does that give you? I'd say there's probably 5 things that articulating your talk verbally gives you for then uh, informing the writing process, which you would then feed back. Practice makes better. Yes, you've straight away, you're practicing the thing you're going to be doing. And generally people don't tend to start rehearsing. Confidence, generally, yeah, you're more familiar with saying the thing. But in terms of the writing, getting you in the zone is good. You'll picture the audience's reaction, yes. But what does it, yeah, there are other things. There's some other things which I'm after in terms of, yeah, structuring and validating the message, practice language, if it flows. Right. So straight away, are there any problematic words? Right. I'm a native English speaker, but there are combinations of English words that trip me up every time. So it's amazing if I can say due diligence. I did it. I'm a hero. But I've tripped over that. Yeah. So first of all, finding out any problematic words, but also the flow is, it's like, does that work? Does it make sense? A lot of people won't say the words out loud until the day itself. And on that day, they encounter lots of problems. They think, oh, it was nerves and it's terrible and I hate public speaking. If they'd gone through it, said the words out loud, they'd probably be in a better place. Okay, so the other things are, well, we've got, oh, no, we've mentioned rehearsal. So you're actually practicing speaking out loud, which is really good. It gives you an idea of the timing. So you might have 20 minutes and you've got 5 sections. And you think, okay, well, that's kind of 4 minutes a section. But actually, when you run through it, you realize your intro takes 2 or 3 minutes, or this section is too long. You would need to edit it down so that you can deliver it at a relaxed pace and hit that end moment. You do not want to overrun, right? For me, overrunning is a big deal. Other things that saying the words out loud can give you is working out. I mean, it's quite a big thing, but it's an insight. Saying it out loud makes you feel a bit silly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need to find a completely safe space where you can do that. But you know what? You'll feel that much less silly when on the day itself. Rambling, tripping over yourself that you probably do in practice. Yeah, I think it enables you to encounter lots of problems and solve them before the day itself. But there's something about saying the words out loud as well where you can gain an insight. So some of you may have heard of a phrase, if you've done any kind of software engineering, called rubber duck engineering. Just has anyone heard of the phrase rubber duck engineering? I'm going to explain. Okay, fine. So it's a principle which seems to be software engineering. I thought it was just Cambridge, and then some people in London. It doesn't matter. The point is, when you encounter a problem, you describe the problem in full to an inanimate object. And traditionally, this is a rubber duck that you have on your desk. And that is rubber duck engineering. And the genius thing, which you've probably already worked out, is that the process of verbally articulating a problem often enables the solution to come up. So if you've ever gone to ask someone for help and you describe the problem, you might have encountered this where partway through you think, wait a minute, no, I've got it. And you leave and they've done precisely nothing, but they've helped in their own way by just being there and staring at you. So when you say the words out loud, sometimes I think you can realize, okay, this is the subject, this is what I'm talking about, but this is the theme, and the theme could be something quite grand and aspirational, and it might be uh, how to save money or save time, or something really broad. And I love drawing out those bigger themes because it has more appeal, or it has appeal to a larger audience. So even though you might be talking to a very specific group who have a very specific role, and you both know the subject, um, and it might seem relatively niche, if you kick off with, "I'm going to show you how to be less stressed, right, in your day," right? That's right. Everyone's going to sign up for that, right? So that's good. So I think it's anything else, something else that speaking out loud gives you. What do we have? We have timing, problematic words, rehearsal, insight. There might be another one, but I think that's it. And memorization. There we go. Well done, me. Um, you're starting to embed the material, right? You're actually starting to get it ingrained because on the day itself your brain will do something weird and it'll get in the way. I'm sure you could talk out loud to AI now and get feedback. Yes, absolutely. So I believe PowerPoint has a coaching mode which does fairly good feedback. So it will pick up things like you're speaking too fast, you use this word too much, too many ums and ers. So as a first pass, that's fine. Obviously, someone like me or indeed any colleague could probably give you some very good basic feedback of I didn't understand this, and because you get varied in your stuff. So um, you probably could do that. I'm not sure how. I think it would give you a good baseline, but it wouldn't give you everything. A better way of reviewing this could be in rehearsal, but it could be after you've given the talk as well. I think is to video yourself and watch it back, which I appreciate is a deeply unpleasant thing to do. I make video content. I don't enjoy watching it back. Hearing your own voice back is bad enough. But if you can get a friend to record you on your phone, and this could just be in a meeting, it might seem odd, or if it's a stand-up, I don't mean surreptitiously in a boardroom, but if they record you, you can do a couple of passes. So this is a technique I've nicked from Vinh Giang, who's brilliant. Actually, I'll put him in the thing. He's amazing. He's a Vietnamese Australian, and I think Ian, I'll probably put too many H's in there. Is that right? I think you'll find him in a minute. Right? He's brilliant. So he says, do a pass where you turn the sound down and just watch. Right? Because if you do separate passes, it's a lot easier. So first one, sound down, you watch and you just see how are you standing, how are you gesturing. Personally, I like lots of gestures. I think that really works. Is that working? Are you smiling? Are you looking the right way? Brilliant. Well done. Well done, Nicole. You were on that straight away. That's brilliant. And there you go. There was another. Oh no, the H was in the wrong place. Just throw H's in until you get there. Thank you. That's brilliant. And then the second pass is put the phone face down, sound up, have a listen, check for speed, ums, ers, all the fairly obvious stuff. And then you can start to apply just nice basic fixes for those because typically going too fast is a real problem. So last thing in material I want to mention is stories. So I said right at the beginning before my intro, some of the best communication has a story in it. If you can incorporate a story, it just does all the heavy lifting, right? It's just way more engaging for your audience. I think it was Brené Brown in her brilliant and very popular TED talk, The Power of Vulnerability, says stories are data with a soul, which I think is really powerful. You can present, and I've seen people present really good, clear information, like it's a lovely set of things, and I'm following it. And then partway through, I just think, where are we going? Right. So I think someone had mentioned at the beginning you could talk, excuse me, sorry. The, um, Andy had said giving a summary of why you're talking, so you could have description of what you're doing. But if you can incorporate story, then it's just very satisfying for an audience, and they just take it in. Now, you don't have to make the whole thing a story. It could be that you have stories sprinkled throughout. Stand-up comics tell stories that are 30 seconds long. But as soon as you have that personal experience, it just elevates it. So if you can find good stories, use them. one note on that, your story is interesting, right? People have said to me, oh, what, yeah, what if you don't have an interesting story? You do. You do have an interesting story. You're unique and you can pick and choose which bits you include, right? So sometimes if you're really stuck, the story of how you created the talk that you're giving can be really exciting. Okay, so anything else on that? I think that's pretty good. I think those are sort of key points. I guess the only other thing I would mention is, oh, how do I define a story? It is simply a character in a situation. You'll know when it could be a client example. It could be there was this person in a situation, they were stuck. And because they were stuck, this is what was happening. So a little bit like examples I gave before. I mean, there's the hero's journey classic story arc, but typically it's this person wants something and there's something in the way. So it might be client is struggling, or there's some pains, there's something unpleasant, and as a result, this is happening, and this is the solution. So that's how I would define a story. I mean, there's lots more, but those are the key things, and then basically a satisfying resolution of some sort. But it could be you. Or like I say, watch stand-ups, right? Stand-up comics will just say, "I did this thing. I was doing a thing, and I got annoyed about it." Like immediately, it's just there's a connection there. Or comic relief. Uh, they have their pre-recorded sections about dreadful things happening, and my wife and I will watch it, and we're just, oh, we don't want to watch the pre-recorded video thing because it's going to be gut-wrenching, and it is. But here's the thing: they could give data such as this many people die from this preventable disease every year. I can't process 100,000 people. I just can't. It does. It's sort of it's dreadful, but it's kind of meaningless, right? So they don't do that. They have here's this person. This is his name. This is his baby. This is his baby's name. They have to get to this place before this time, otherwise the baby will die, right? And it's horrific, but it works, right? My wife and I are willingly manipulated. We participate. We're in tears. We donate money. Cool, right? And it works because they just go, here's one person and here's their experience. So yeah, I could talk about stories all day. Right. Yeah, I'll come to the nerves bit later on. And yeah, definitely, like Nicole said, yeah, it's relatability. That's kind of the key thing. So structure is one thing, but relatability is big. Right. So I'm going to get into delivery, right? So you've created your thing, you've created a material, you've got a story or two in there. How can you communicate that authentically? How can you be assertive, be confident, grab the audience's attention? So first thing, I talked about the information, right? Hit them with something interesting, something intriguing. Before you even do that, how can you make a great first impression before you've even spoken? Because if it is a presentation, then that presentation starts the moment they can see you. Or in this case, it's as soon as you can see me on the screen. What can you do in those first few seconds before you've opened your mouth to tip the odds in your favor, shall we say? Anything at all? Bung that in the chat. You've done very well with the chat, by the way. It's brilliant. Body language, yes. And let's get specific on that. So yes, physically, yes, that's one. Well, you're 50 points to Gryffindor, Nicole. You are absolutely acing this. There's no shoulders back. Yeah, good. So there's two I'm answering. Shoulders back is good. Yeah. So assuming the role of a confident person, eye contact. There's another one which I really like. Well done. Yeah. So it's smiling, right? Uh, Obviously, only if it feels right. But if you think a smile will come, you think that feels good. Honestly, I believe that eye contact and smile basically creates a kind of positive feedback loop where I think the audience thinks they infer from that, okay, they see that you're comfortable, like you appear to be comfortable. You might be terrified, right? But you're sending out the right signals. They infer from that, okay, you look comfortable, therefore, you probably know what you're doing. This is probably going to be good. We're in a safe pair of hands, right? What a wonderful thing to do before you've even got anywhere. And I've seen people get up and give evidence as to why they're credible, right? Which is just dreadful, right? It's an academic thing. I saw someone go through 10, I'm not joking, 10 papers. Like, we're facing the right direction. We're here. Like, just, give us the thing. You don't need to do that. It's such a strange thing. So in that first moment, great first impression, And here's the really clever bit about this, which is sort of getting into the mindset piece, is you're sending out a signal that says, I know what I'm doing, we're in a good place, great. You're also sending a signal to your own subconscious, basically saying, I'm comfortable doing this thing and I like it, which works even if you're nervous. So even if your heart is absolutely racing, when you smile and you step out there, shoulders back, you're assuming the physical posture of a confident person, it sends a really good signal to your brain. So in that first moment, tip the odds in your favor, walk out there boldly, and then kick off. Now, having said that, there's probably some other little things you could do just before that to help with your delivery. What do you think would be a good way of making sure that you deliver this thing well? So you've rehearsed, right? You've maybe run through it 3 times, full pace, full volume. You're used to it. You know how long it takes. But, and I'm gonna cue you up here with a clue. The venue. What could you do that would maybe help? I mean, I've pretty much told you, but check it out first. Bingo. That's right. Do some recon. Right. Honestly, get in the room. Right. If it's a boardroom at your office, then go and rehearse in there. Right. You'll be in a great place. If you see what I mean. Yeah, physically and mentally. If it's a conference and you're doing a talk, then get in that venue. Right. Go and stand in the place where you'll be like, just look at it, check everything out. You want to investigate all the technical problems, right? And I've been to I've done multiple, well, just hundreds of talks and training sessions, and getting in there half an hour or even an hour beforehand pays dividends because you find out, right, there's no clicker. So typically I'll bring my own stuff, but HDMI lead, I need this connector. There isn't a good place to put a laptop, or the lecterns at this conference are all sloped. They go, oh, that's good. We'll have a slope because that's good for putting paper. You can't put a glass of water on that, and there's nowhere else for miles where you can put a glass of water. You know, things like that. So it's just solving all those problems ahead of time. I once spent about 20 minutes at, I did a thing at BAFTA years ago for BAFTA Games where we were changing the projection height of the thing. Like I was standing there because I just had the bottom of the slide here, like wherever I stood, it was there. And the guy went, well, I can just move it up a bit. I was like, brilliant. But most people won't do that. And I've seen people with words across their faces and stuff, which is really funny. Ask the host to send you a photo at least. Yes, I've found you can Google like
Mm.
individual meeting rooms in places like it's amazing. Like even in like businesses, they'll have like a picture of the room. So yeah, find out. It's always interesting to do that, and you go, oh, it's only there's basically this. Oh, it only holds 12 people, or oh, it's it's a 300 seat venue. There's things like that. So it's always good to just see what you're dealing with and then know what's going on. And exactly, Nicole, you're on this. The visualization is key, and I find that's great. That's a massive part of it. Where well, there's seeing the image of the room and visualizing, and then the really crafty thing is what I mentioned before: is you go and stand in the spot where you will be speaking, and see, right, this is the shape of the room. That's sort of a mindset piece, but it's all linked to that. Doing the prep. Also, just making friends with whoever's doing the tech, right? Go and chat to them, right? Go and make sure they should be super helpful, but you never know. So it's good to just chat to them, let them know this is what I want to do, these are the things, and then they'll feel better that you only need XX. And if you do need lots of stuff, then they can solve that there. And that of course includes microphones and everything else, which is a whole other kettle of ball games. But if you can work that in advance, that's really really handy. So that would definitely help with the delivery. I think probably last few things on that is aiming for conversational is the key, right? If you can deliver something that feels like it's a chat, then that's really good. That is really handy. I think the best talks, whether it's a TED talk or something else, is where someone's just chatting. So there's Ken Robinson. I think he did more than one TED talk, but the famous Ken Robinson one is called something like "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" And he's just chatting, right? And he comes across as super smart, but just funny. And he talks as if he's another member of the audience, which is really clever. So he just says, "Oh, it's been brilliant, hasn't it? All the talks, I've been blown away." And I just think, why, why are you here? Why are you doing that? It's just funny and relatable. Let me give you another thing on delivery. Right, so I've mentioned authenticity. So this is, I mean, it's slightly facile, like, hey, just be authentic, right? It's really hard. For me, it's still a sort of ongoing journey, but it's stripping back that filter, right? So like I said, I'm feeling. I might mention I'm on a brilliant caffeine detox, so I feel very slightly ill, and I've realized it's quite liberating. It means that I care slightly less about about what I'm doing, which I think is okay. Authentic communication, I think, is better for your audience. So it's just more interesting. You've got more personality, you're more engaging because you're just being you. It's easier for you because you're not having to put on the facade and be a great speaker. You're just being yourself. So it's tricky, right? It's a real challenge. But if you can let that stuff out, throw out some little bits about, oh, something you did earlier on in your day, just talking about how you feel in the room. Like there's a speaker I know, so there's an Aussie guy, and he says he'll tell the audience if he's annoyed. Like I was thinking surely that's a bit risky because yeah, I'm just feeling a bit down or I'm feeling a bit that's brilliant. So I mean that maybe that's sort of elite level. I'm not sure if I'd aim at that. But just being you is basically it feels risky, it's counterintuitive, but it's just nicer. It's just easier for the audience. And the other thing which I'm quite keen on, which comes back to the material thing, is being concise, right? That concise material, if in doubt, cut it out, right? If you're going through your stuff, like I said, if you've got a time limit and right, I've got to edit this down because otherwise I'm going to have too much material. No one ever said, "Oh, I wish that presentation had gone on a bit longer," right? Short and sweet is always good, whether it's a phone call, Zoom call. Like if you're doing meetings, doing online meetings, and you know you can finish a few minutes early, do it. Like everyone will love it. And the same is true of a talk. If you've got a half-hour slot, people will do a half-hour talk, which is silly, and then they'll overrun. If you can finish a little bit earlier, it's just wonderful. So conciseness is great for your audience. And once you get good at creating concise material, which is tricky, but it comes from that applying that time limit and keeping it nice and short, you're just creating less stuff. I mean, I haven't even got into slides, like that's a whole other thing. But what I would say with that is create that material and then create slides if you need them, but only if they solve a problem. Right. Okay. It's 7 o'clock. So what I'd like to do is breakout rooms. So we might only have yeah, we could have, yeah, just a few people in each room. What I'd like you to do, so I'm going to give you 10 minutes, which might seem like quite a long time, but I think 5 minutes is too short. What I would like you to do is to think about and discuss your favorite speakers and what they do. So this is in terms of material and in terms of delivery. They could be stand-up comics, they could be politicians, they could be characters from The Diplomat. Has anyone been watching that? Oh my goodness. What dialogue. Brilliant. Suits, whatever you like. Anything at all. I want you to discuss those brilliant speakers and what they do. And I want you to just make a few notes because when we come back from the breakout rooms, I'm going to ask you about those things. And that's it. So, Mohammed, please commence the
I
breakout
will do.
rooms.
I will. I would very much encourage, just before I do that,
Oh,
for those of you that
oh,
don't
yes,
have your
cameras on.
camera, yeah,
Yeah,
if you can turn your camera on just for that three or
yeah,
four
yeah.
people, it will really help the engagement just in that small setting. Otherwise,
Good
you end
shout.
up being in a meeting room with somebody and you have a brown bag in front of you or on top of you, and it's a bit weird. So yeah, give that a shot. Enjoy your 10 minutes, and we'll see you guys back shortly.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You should get a prompt to join.
Yes. I guess you have to actively choose it. Does it happen automatically on a time limit as well?
What, the exit of the 10 minutes?
No, the entrance, like to join the room.
It doesn't happen automatically. The
Ah,
user on the other end gets a request to
yeah.
say accept the join.
I can see an issue here in the list. That's really tough.
Yeah,
I think you might press. I think you might press join, Mohammed, which is fine.
Can you?
not me. That's if I want to join. But
Yeah,
we've
but at
got
the
we've got
moment,
Nicole
I'm
sitting
getting
in a
that wrong.
room where
Nicole's on her own, Rob's on her own.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna move her to room one.
Oh, you can do that. Brilliant. Yes. Oh, well played. Well played. Yes. So technically, the people who haven't joined will be in their own room because they might not be
Yeah.
participating. Well played. I can see what you've done there. Look at that.
And
This
we've
is a
got
good
Rob
interface.
as well. So we'll put Rob
Rob,
in room one as
put them in
well.
one room. No one will know that they're in their own room. Right. No, you need to. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it.
Yeah. So we've got four
Brilliant.
people in one room and the rest haven't joined yet.
That's it. So interesting. Okay. Hmm. So does that right? So all the people who haven't joined are just listening to us then.
Either listening to us or have decided not to join
Of
or
course, and that's absolutely fine. There's no judgment. I'm just intrigued with the
yeah, yeah,
process. But you assume, yeah, okay, hmm. But then Josh hasn't joined either.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
So let's see. I mean, Josh, Mariana, Ollie, Dominic, if you're around, you can hear us. We'd love for you to join one of the rooms and have this lovely conversation. Or feel free to unmute. We could have a conversation here if you want.
we could do it here. We can have our own room. Honestly, there'll be no pressure. We can have our own. Otherwise, I've got to talk to Tom and Mohammed. I don't want to do that. That's a joke, guys. I'm loving talking to you.
Is it only room one Mo that's got people in?
Yeah.
Well, it has now because Mohammed has skillfully moved all the people who've joined into the same room, which is crafty.
Okay.
Why Celine?
Selena has entered the waiting room. So
Oh,
I
so I'm going to put her into.
oh
Mm,
well, she won't have any context. That's oh I
yeah,
mean doesn't
I'll bring her in. Yeah.
yeah.
Shall I stick me in one Mo? Happy to.
Say again.
I'm happy to go in one.
You'd like to go in one?
I'll go in one. If
Why don't you go in with
Oh hang on.
with
Yes,
Artie? Because Artie's on his
Selena,
own
who
now.
isn't Selena is hello.
Yeah, the laptop went lost power. So can you put them back in room, please?
Oh
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Ah,
You're in, but I can't put you back in. You're not
hmm.
oh.
assigned to room.
Did you have a max of four?
Right. Okay. Going to
Yeah,
room two.
two. And then Tom, if you want to join two,
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I'll join too.
Okay.
Well
yeah,
done.
and then you can have a chat.
Brilliant. Cool. Okay. Well, look, we can still have a chat anyway. And in
Yeah,
case
yeah,
anyone,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I tend to gravitate towards stand-up comics, but I'm not sure if they've got techniques that you would necessarily nick. But who do you like? What speakers do you like?
I mean, for me, I think the ones that come across really authentic are the likes of Tony Robbins.
Hmm.
Um, who else? Even Elon Musk, take for example, and he's not quite a speaker as
Wow.
such, but there's a level
Okay.
of authenticity that I find very relatable. He doesn't seem to put a mask on. He just says things as they are for him. And he brings, at least to me, an attitude that, yeah, this is how it is. I'm not putting a mask on, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
But
but I wouldn't say that his speaking and his delivery is good and efficient.
yeah, I mean, I guess no filter is great, but then Trump doesn't have a filter, and I find him like. And here's the thing. So I would argue that Trump and Musk, it's just word salad, right? It's just like there's no filter, but there's also no root. There's no, structure to it. But that's interesting. You thought
Yeah.
of Musk. Okay, interesting. I mean, I get okay. So yes, what I guess that I'm not sure if it even counts as a positive, but absolute confidence, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Trump, whilst I
totally.
just think he's just awful, and I need to stop thinking about him as much as I do, but just no doubts at all, it seems, and that's yeah. I guess I almost envy that, but I think everything else is just so, it's
I
just so.
agree. I totally agree. And that's
But,
that's the key
mm,
point, right? I mean, he's an interesting character. I haven't studied him particularly in any real way. But like I said, I think your question was more around, what characteristics of a speaker that you've watched.
who do you like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
who do you like, right? Now,
Yeah.
I cannot sit and watch him all day, every day. There are
Mm,
certain people that sound good. There are They've got a
Mm.
good pace and all of that. They're engaging, but there's not too much meat in it.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, for me, I think Tony Robbins grips me the most of all
Mm.
because of
Interesting.
his storytelling is phenomenal in the way he'll take you on a journey. And this story is one story taking 30 to 40 minutes to deliver.
Huh. I need to study him because years ago there was a documentary about him, and I've been told he was brilliant. And I
Oh, you're
watched
talking
it.
about I Am Not Your Guru. Yeah.
Yes, the Netflix one, and I really it made me really uncomfortable. Like I just really didn't enjoy it at all. But I think that was, and it's like they stitched him up. It was really odd that they sort of made him look just come across as really peculiar. And so yeah, it just felt really, yeah, I felt really uncomfortable. So I was like, oh right, he's not this amazing guy. But I haven't actually watched the talks. I just saw this money making machine that he'd made, and fair play. Like if you can make $1 million from one gig or whatever, or half of it, or whatever, then yeah, you do a couple of those a year and you're laughing, right? So fair play. But yeah, I found him really really odd and just unsettling. Having said that, I will watch him give talks because I know he's. I mean, I think he was supposed to advise Princess Diana, so like he's been around for a while,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. I mean,
back in the day he was hot, and
yeah,
then he's become something else. So that's interesting.
absolutely. How about
Yeah, I
you?
like.
Who's a speaker that you're attracted to or
I
have
mean
resonated?
that there are some generally politicians in my era have just been dreadful, but then you've got someone like Barack Obama who's just wonderful, right? Just really stirring stuff, and in fact, yeah, there was a good juxtaposition of uh, someone had put up, and I think I might have seen it already, but it was Obama's visit to I think to Buckingham Palace, or no, hang on, maybe it's to it was the one that Trump went to recently, and like he said, "Oh, no one's ever been there." And Obama basically gave this talk, um, and he said he started off, and I think this is going to be probably all royalty, the Queen and probably major political figures. And he starts off with something which he doesn't know if it's going to get a laugh, but he says something like a queen, a bishop, and someone else walk into a church or
Right.
something. And he says that sounds like an interesting thing or the beginning of a bad joke, right? Or a funny joke. He says the beginning of a funny joke, and it gets a really nice slow burn laugh. It gets this nice bit, and you could see he's kind of surprised, and that's it. And like they love him after that. It's just a
Yeah.
brilliant, funny thing to say. He's delivered it with respect, and it's just So yeah, I got a lot of time for him, um, and yeah, just lots of stand-up comics. I just really like. But again, that's maybe I'm swayed more by the material than the delivery. It's 10 past, although we did have a bit of faffing around, but I
Yeah.
think it doesn't have to be 10 minutes. So shall we bring them back? And oh, do you give them you can give them like a minute
Yeah,
cue?
they'll get the notice. It'll all be
Yeah.
done automatically.
All right. So do you want to do that, and then they can
Hmm.
come back when they're ready? Brilliant. Thank you. And then yeah, we'll see what happened. It's very interesting because I'm host. I getting to see that interface. That's really good. So actually, you've got just Tom and the guy there who
Tommy,
clearly is not
Selena, yeah, yeah.
called Selena. Um,
It's
and then
because I moved everybody to the other
yeah,
groups,
of course,
and
yeah,
then
it's fine,
I
it's
didn't
fine. But
want
then
to
you've got
then
five in
remove
that.
them.
So
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's funny. Okay, good. I'm sure I used to know someone called Nguyen. Oh, was it Rob? Who is that? It may be a common surname. I don't know. But those are great names as well, like Lister and Hatful. Those are great. And Arcadia as well. It's just and Torres, obviously, it's close enough. Um, brilliant. So yeah, Tony Robbins.
I mean, these guys might relate to you in terms of the comedy feel. I do like, Russell Peters. He's good.
Oh, I don't know if I know. Oh, hang on. No, I know the name, but Russell Peters.
Russell Peters, a Canadian Indian comedian.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. His
He's nice. I love Chris Rock. He's amazing.
yes, yes,
Chris
yeah,
Rock is phenomenal.
yeah, yeah.
There's one other guy, Gabriel Iglesias, the big fluffy guy. You must have seen him.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I think
Spanish Mexican. Yeah,
I Who am I thinking of? Yeah, I might have seen him. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so where are you watching these then? Are these on like net?
Online, online. Yeah.
But yeah, but anywhere in particular?
Oh, you mean, yeah, YouTube, mainly
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for that. Right. Oh, there we go. We'll close in 1 minute. Good. Good, good. Yeah. Trying to think who. Oh, yeah, I was watching one. Oh, what's that guy's name? There's an American who's doing a thing about bourbon. It's like a tour about whiskey.
Right.
Um, and he says something. He says he's one, and I know he's been around for a while. He's really good. I can't remember his name. I have to find it. But he says, "Oh, I'm a real." He talks about, I love a whiskey. I love to have, whiskey every day or whatever. And he says, I'm not an expert in whiskey, but I can be irritating in other ways. It's just wonderful. He just says, you may not, if you're an irritating person, you probably know a lot about whiskey. It's just like line after line, like really nice. And he says, yeah, I'm up to, I only have one whiskey. I'm down to, I have a whiskey every, once every day. Okay, it's twice every day. And then, just
Yeah.
um but yeah, he's in front of an image of just barrels, so I think I don't, it's got to be sponsored, right? It's got to be,
Absolutely.
and he
Absolutely.
says, what is it? He talks about, I'll have to find the clip, but he's just talking about being, I think this is a product that's just basically drunk by white ignorant people, and like here I am, and it's just amazing. Brilliant. Like you're probably the main demographic. It's just wonderful. Oh, that reminds me. A crossover there is the Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee episode, which is Jerry Seinfeld's impromptu sort of interviews with comics, but where he's driving around and they're drinking coffee with Barack Obama,
All
which is
right.
just mind blowing. It's just lovely. So they don't go and get coffee; they have to stay at the White House. And there's a nice little bit. I mean, it's kind of a skit where they get in a car, they drive towards the exit, and the huge security guy says, "You're in a car with the president. You're going nowhere. Turn it around." He's basically just bossing them around, but it's just lovely. You just get this lovely insight into his world, and it's very funny. Um,
Good stuff. Everyone's back now,
Everyone
Joe.
is back. Wonderful, good. So thank you for that, and yes, good. So go. What are the key things that your favorite speakers do? Anything at all. This can be material, delivery. Mohammed and I discussed Tony Robbins, Barack Obama, and you mentioned a couple of stand-ups, Russell Peters and Gabriel Iglesias. And I guess I can go and, I don't know those last two that well. Although no, Russell, I think I've seen Russell Peters. Anyway, it'll come. Um, good. Okay, Andy. Appreciate it. Cheers. Thank you. All right, so
Thank you.
yeah, anything at all that your favorite speakers do or have done that you liked that maybe you could not nick as a technique, but emulate anything at all. Go, or just tell me your favorite speakers. Graham
So,
Norton.
yeah. Well, feel
Yes.
free to unmute as well. Yeah. You guys
Oh
can
yeah,
unmute
absolutely.
too.
Yeah, yeah. Jump in. Yeah, it's a democracy. So yeah, a very long time ago, I gigged with Graham Norton, and I love saying this. I gigged with so many comics when I started out, and they've all done really well. But yes, it's amazing. Like when he started that show, I was thinking, okay, so he's going to chat. He just has enough fun about him that yes, he just elicits stuff from people, and now he's the go-to. So yes,
Yeah.
encouraging other people to tell stories, brilliant. So he's a good listener, good, and sorry, even more important, asks good questions, good. What else? Thank you for that. That's really good. Lee Evans, yeah. So classic. I mean, the staple of stand-up, which I guess is always it's been the way for the past whatever sort of well, probably 40 years actually, or actually more like 60. Woody Allen was doing stuff in the 60s that was observational comedy that would work now. Uh, yeah, everyday stuff. Here's the thing. I mean, the cliche is, oh, don't you just hate it when, which is, I think Homer Simpson says, oh, it's funny because it's true, but there are comics still doing that. And I remember seeing Michael McIntyre, doing stuff about going and get coffee from a shop. There are people still doing it, and it's brilliant. So yeah, everyday relatable stuff. So that's definitely something you can do where you talk about the situation now as it happens. And in terms of comedy, which clearly I keep coming back to, that's what I like is just talking about something that's just happened. right? You're sitting there and, or I might mention someone's clothes in a nice way and go, oh, I like this. Or, there was this thing. Did you notice this thing in the room or the shape of the light? Those things in themselves aren't funny, but when you mention them, they are. But anything spontaneous in the moment is just great. So I was very pleased with myself when I mentioned, someone putting paper in front of the camera. Relatable stuff. Okay. Anything else? Anything else that your favorite speakers do?
We actually turned it around, John, as well, and looked at
Like
maybe
what?
what rightly or wrongly, we thought, I wonder what happens if you look at it from the opposite perspective of what speakers don't you like. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we were looking
Oh, yeah,
at
that's more fun. Yeah, yeah.
a lot of politicians speaking from auto cue
Oh man.
removes that authentic well I find anyway removes that authenticity, which I think
Yeah.
leads you to not engage, buy in to what's been said.
Yeah, that's a great angle to take. And when someone doesn't answer a bloody question, like even if you don't want to answer, just say, I don't know, or as soon as this was the appeal of, sorry, I've come back to Trump, right? A lot of his fans say, yeah, he is dreadful, but he doesn't, or they feel like he doesn't lie to us. And of course, he's a huge liar, but they feel like he doesn't feel like a regular politician to them, right? And we're not going to mention him anymore, but that's a thing that politicians think, oh yes, well, you could say that and they meander around. So yeah, just being straight with people is great, even if it's something that you didn't want to say or admit to and go, yeah, we've messed this up. People really appreciate, well, at least you're being straight with us. So good. Yeah, and actually, yeah, yeah. What do your least favorite speakers do is funny. Good. Yeah. And anything else? Any other things?
For a lot of the people we talked about, like the ability to be like concise and clear in the way that you communicate and use like good examples or a story to like reinforce it.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, conciseness. It's like I think it's attributed to Mark Twain, although it seems like all my favorite quotes are attributed to Mark Twain. Is I'd have written you a shorter letter, but I didn't have time. Right? It takes that work to make it concise. But if you do it, like people love it. And yeah, people waffling on, it just doesn't work. So that's, yeah, if you can develop that conciseness and yeah, good story. Um, some of the best talks will just be three stories, right? I'm going to tell you a story and it just works. So good. Thank you. That's brilliant. Good. Anything else, positive or negative? Could be something that, I mean, for me, people overrunning is that, and I mentioned it already, but that is just the worst possible thing. Like I want people to, if you finish exactly on time or just before, there's an unspoken message there, which is I'm dependable, I don't mess about. All good things, regardless of what you've been talking about. It just says I'm someone you want to work with. Whereas you could be brilliant, right? Best expert. You could even be funny and engaging, great, but you go over by 10 minutes, it's like, nah, we you've wasted our time. You weren't aware of our time, or you didn't respect our time, which is criminal. Okay. And anything else? Any other? Oh, yes, Elon Musk. Right. So full disclosure. I asked Mohammed. I said, who are your favorite speakers?" Right, and Tony Robbins. I thought, okay, that's fine. I haven't watched a lot of his stuff. And then he mentioned Elon Musk, and I just utter disbelief. But it's valid. So it's, yeah, I don't know, but if that works, yeah, if it feels like it's, I don't know, unfiltered, or it's if you relate to it, then fair enough. So it's working out what that is that he does, or any of these speakers do that you like, and copying that and avoiding the stuff that the other speakers do, which you don't like.
Yeah, and just for clarity, I did say to John that I don't think he speaks very well, but exactly the
Yeah.
point, Rob, that you've put in, the fact that he takes time to think, the fact that he pauses and thinks and all it makes it feel very relatable. I mean, maybe another chap that's just come across my mind is Jordan Peterson.
Oh, I hate all these guys. I hate this is amazing, but this is good. This is good. Okay, so but you're right. You're right. So okay, so no, it's not that you're right. Just give me one. What do you like? I could spend all day. Tell me what you like about Jordan Peterson's delivery or content.
I think the fact that he's just so relatable to men.
Sorry, relatable to.
Men.
Okay, I yeah. Okay, so I could. I could really go into the, so from my experience, what I've seen of him from a while ago was, I'm going to say, misogynist level, like attitude to women. However, um, there are numerous reasons I dislike him. Although, as you've said, numerous people have told me he's saved my life. He did great stuff on storytelling and amazing. So here's the thing. So regardless of that, what I mentioned just now, the problem I have is the meandering. It's like it takes ages to get to the point, right? So regardless of what I think of the point, there's a long way to get there. Um, and I like that conciseness. But that's so funny that he'd be like, and he's super popular and he's got a show, and so yeah, I should study him more. There was an American president who said, "I don't like that man. I should get to know him better," and so I will hold myself to that
Yeah.
thing. And
But remember,
that
we're not talking about the individuals, what they do, what they
absolutely, and
stand
and
for.
the,
We're talking
and,
about their
and
speaking and whatnot, right?
you're absolutely right. Thank you. Yes, I've gone into the material and I shouldn't have done that, and you're correct to hold me to that. So yeah, but yes, you could argue he's compelling. Yeah, he's compelling and very difficult to ignore. So brilliant. Right, that's a good technique. Just related to that hesitation there that you mentioned with Musk, and I'm definitely with Peterson, I'd say um, that can really hook people in as long as there aren't ums and ers in there. So I would recommend, if you're not sure what to say next, absolute silence, have a think, smile, then deliver that next bit. People will be hanging on your words, every word, which is great. If, however, you fill that space with ums and ers and filler words, then it's not very good. So
And I think
taking
particularly that's a great tip, John, for interview situation because you're put on a spot, you're asked a question, you just might blabber a bunch of crap, but show them that you've thought about the question, ask them some clarifying questions,
yeah,
and then answer
yeah,
that. You've bought time, right? You've bought thinking time.
absolutely. And Nicole said pauses are okay. I would say even more than that. I said that they're wonderful. Like they're it's a power move, right? It's controlling the room. There's a school of thought which says in an interview specifically, even as they're asking you the question, you think, I've got the answer, I've got the answer. Just shush for a bit. Just wait. Give it a few seconds, then deliver it, and it'll have that much more impact. And certainly, yeah, it gives you time to think, but it also lends gravitas to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I'm going to talk a little bit about mindset then, feeling confident. And I've touched on some of this already. First stage in terms of the venue is getting in the room and just practicing and just seeing the room and understanding, okay, there'll be someone sitting there or there'll be 300 people sitting there. That extra level of familiarity will really help on the day. Most people won't do this and they'll walk in and go, oh, this is a big room. And then they'll be confused maybe by how they get up onto the stage, or they won't have familiarized themselves with the technology in a meeting room. They won't look at home and it destroys that first impression. If, however, you've practiced walking to the front, working out where you're going to stand, working out where everything's going to be, you will look at home and it'll just look brilliant and you'll look like a pro. So that, in terms of the room, is the key thing. In terms of overall calming yourself down, I find as soon as I get that fight, flight, or freeze response, and someone last week was yes, someone said to me in the session, they said there's a fourth one, which is flop, which is basically just do nothing. You just kind of freeze and go, it'll probably be okay. So it's not even freeze. It's just like just no, just like yeah, resigned it, which I thought was really funny. Uh, as soon as you experience that, I find taking action is key, and that can be physical action. So it could be starting to write some material, but honestly, I find just getting outside, go for it, leave the building. There's something about leaving the building, whether it's your house, the office, whatever, where you just go, oh, this is the real world. And I've done it at conferences where it feels like, okay, there's a lot of pressure, there's all these things happening, and you go outside and you go, oh, these people don't care about anything that's going on in there, right? And it really helps. Bonus to that is if you can get into a green space of any kind, it just works, right? It just calms you down. So long term, I find that stuff's really good. I would also recommend, and this is, I mentioned the sort of long-term project for myself, is accepting yourself fully, which is a huge challenge, right? And I think can take a long time. It's taking a long time for me. I think I'm getting there, but it's basically accepting who you are, strengths and weaknesses, maybe even saying them out loud on your own, declaring them, owning them, if you can do it fully, if you can really accept yourself, then you'll be pretty much bulletproof. It doesn't mean you won't want to do well when you're giving a talk, but you'll be okay with it. And if you do get challenged or something crops up, you're less likely to falter and you're more likely to keep going. And another thing which I really like just before you, and I'm about to wrap up. Look at me, I'm so on time. This is good. Just before you go into that speaking situation, whatever it is, remind yourself of the positive truths. So the positive truths would be all the facts about the situation that a friendly colleague or a friend might remind you of, such as you're not going to die, right? Which is, I think there's something. I think there's a little bit of you that thinks before you give a talk, you think I might die. I'm not sure. It feels like there's a danger. But just remind yourself you're physically safe. You're going to talk about a subject that you know about, and if you're not, then you have no business giving that talk, and you should have refused to do it in the first place. You're going to talk for a set amount of time. It's going to be this long, and it'll be over, and then you'll go and do something else. These are the really important facts. Also, things like the audience is on your side. As soon as you stand up, whether it's in front of 3 people or 1,000 people, you immediately earn a good degree of respect because people realize you've taken the time to do this. And so that really helps. So remind yourself of those key things, and I think those really help. Just reminding yourself of those facts. Right. So I'm going to sum up. Then I'm just going to draw just a few of the points. When it comes to creating the material, see how quickly you can create first draft. I would recommend, even if you fully intend to use slides, don't start with PowerPoint or don't start with any slides. Just sketch some stuff out. You could sketch out images for slides, but just do it on separate bits of paper, move them around. I believe you can make the first draft, which is like 50% of the work, in 20 minutes for any talk. You can see, right, I want it to be this, this, and this. Once you've got that structure sorted, then you can populate and then you can continue and excuse me, add more material, add slides and so on. So that will save you a ton of time because then you're not throwing stuff away later on if you become unhappy with the structure. Incorporate stories wherever you can. They'll do a lot of work for you. They're easy to remember. They're easy for your audience to remember, which is great as well. And keep it as concise as possible. In terms of delivery, walk out with intention, right? If you start off the right way, you assume the role of a confident person, it kind of manifests itself. It becomes true. It seems strange, but it really works. The audience trusts you, they relax, and then you've got that positive feedback loop, which is super useful. Ask questions throughout, right? Check in with people. What's going on? Is this okay? Does this make sense, right? Not necessarily for validation, but just checking in that they're working or asking rhetorical questions. Mention things that are happening in the room if you like. I find that's a good way to keep people engaged. And then finally, when it comes to managing your nerves, feeling confident, remind yourself of those facts. Oh, the other one is you've rehearsed, right? Which you can only say if you've rehearsed. So if you've run through it a good amount of times, like 10 times, and you've reworded it each time, I should point out, don't rehearse a verbatim script, like mix it up a little bit. Then you can enter that situation and remind yourself, yeah, I've done this. I've gone through this a certain number of times. Whatever happens, I'm going to get most of these words out, probably in the right order, and then it'll be fine. And I guess reward yourself and measure that progress. So giving yourself a little pat on the back when you've done well at something and realize, yeah, I've done this talk. And also linking to that and the nerves as well. Remind yourself, okay, before I did my last talk, yeah, I felt terrible. And then it felt like chaos during the thing itself. And then afterwards, I felt amazing. This is the same cycle. I find that's a really good thing to keep in mind. And that is it. So if you do all of those things, I believe those are the steps towards speaking confident and getting some big wins. Thank you very much.
John, thank you very much indeed. I can feel all those virtual applause, and it's very difficult when we're remote, isn't it, to show you appreciation? But I can feel the appreciation. That was a
Raw.
fantastic
It's a
session.
raw.
Thank you, John. John, how can people stay in touch with you
Oh,
afterwards?
yes. I'm all over the internet, but I'm on LinkedIn. I mean, oh, you've got my name. Like it's that easy. Yeah, you'll find me. So LinkedIn's probably the best one. And I do have I'll put the website as well. But yeah, very easy. Very should be very easy to find. Yeah, and by all means, connect, get in touch. I publish stuff a lot. Generally do a few a week. So yeah, you can find me on there. Right, I'm just gonna get my website.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to stay in touch, so that'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Great.
I'm obsessed with LinkedIn. This is weird. This is the copy paste thing. I don't know if there's a Windows thing where it retains the original. It should say the link to my text. Sorry, it's a thing. I'm sure there's some setting in Windows. It's so annoying.
The link works. I can see the link.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone, for
Yes.
your participation as well in those breakout rooms. That was amazing. And thank you for your enthusiasm and energy, John. I don't know where you get your continued energy from. Maybe it's you had this
Yes.
energy before you gave it caffeine, so I don't know, not quite sure.
No, I'm on a
Interested to pick your brains on the caffeine thing, by the way.
I'm a detox and oh yeah. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, it's hell. It's hell.
Yeah.
We've got a chance for questions. So does yes, and you well done. Yeah, well done with your Gryffindor points, Nicole. That was excellent. Yeah, fire away with questions. Sorry, I hope I didn't jump over you there, Tom.
No, yeah, go, yeah.
Fire
Good to say
away
that. I know
with
we've had quite a few questions as we go, but if anyone has got any final
yeah,
questions,
yeah. I'm glad we kind of tackled those as we went along. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Let's just see if this works. I think it's because I copied from the browser. There you go. See, to me, that's more satisfying. I mean, no one cares. No one cares. I've done it before as well. Sorry, this is a side note where it's put in the number of like tabs I've got open. So it'll go 16 LinkedIn. I'm like, why would you do that? It's just gates.
I can see that now.
Anyway, there's no questions. This is intriguing. How to handle difficult. Oh, it's such a meta question. Brilliant. So, first thing I think that you should say if you're not sure is, or you don't know, is I don't know, right? Even if you should know, even if people will be annoyed that you didn't know, much better say, I've no idea. I'd love to find out. And smile as you say it, right? So you're not enjoying the fact that you don't know. You're not necessarily pleased with it, but you're happy. What you're communicating is you're happy with your own level of knowledge, and there's no fire here. There's nothing to see. Yeah, I don't know, but I'd love to find out. There's no ego, there's no challenge, right? As soon as you start freestyling an answer, like you could have given the best talk, the audience loves you, and then you start, meandering along. They're like, no, every audience can tell you don't know the answer. So much better minimize the damage. Go, I've no idea. Let's have a chat. Right? Maybe not, here and now, but let's have a chat afterwards. It could well be they want to tell everyone the answer because they do. So,
I had one time, if I can share this example, when somebody said to me, I don't agree with what you've said. So this is in a group of 30, 40 people. And I
mm,
said, that's interesting. Tell me more.
brilliant, perfect,
So I
perfect. That's
literally
it.
opened it up
Yeah,
and
yeah,
made myself in a place. Well, I perceived myself in a vulnerable position when I did that, but actually I put myself up in a very powerful place because I opened up the doors to hear what it was that this person was not agreeing with.
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's really interesting. And then he went on and he shared what he wanted to share. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you for that because I didn't think
Eh,
of it from that perspective. Boom, finished.
Fantastic. And you could use the same approach if someone attacks you, right? If someone says, look, let's say they come in, like, let's say it's horrible. They go, I think your work's terrible. I think it's a bit work you've done is terrible. Most of us would feel terrified, apologize, so on. However, consider this response. Could you give me some more detail on that? Right? Which might seem it's almost condescending, but it's basically saying, that's fine, but I want to do something about it. And because I'm okay with my work. So this is obviously what you're inferring, what you're suggesting. But what's brilliant about it, well, there's numerous brilliant, the main brilliant things are you're basically showing I completely disagree with you, but I'm okay. There's no ego, there's no clash. I'm fine with who I am. So that attack hasn't worked if the purpose was to get you. But it's also forcing them to then break down. So just saying, oh, something's rubbish is no good.
Mhm.
Like they need to break it down. And if it really, let's say it really is flawed, then you can say, okay, yeah, I can fix that. But more likely they'll go, oh, and then they won't have anything, and then you've won. But the main thing is that you don't let that land. And again, this is part of the accepting yourself. If you're really okay with who you are and your level of knowledge, and someone says, "Oh, I think this is terrible," you go, "Okay, yeah, show me a bit more." And it's like everyone would turn around and they go, "Oh, right, it's fine. There's nothing to see there." So yeah, I love
I
that.
actually,
Oh
yeah, I
yes.
watched something recently, and I can't remember who it was, but it was on a similar sort of topic, and it was exactly that, throwing the question back, and it was about rather than defending your position and explaining yourself because they've raised a question, ask them to elaborate, and you instantly take that higher ground, and that level of control over the conversation because you've sort of dominated back and pushed it back on them to now defend their position as to why they disagree rather than you defending their disagreement, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
and
like you're not trying to meet them. You're not trying to fight back. Yeah.
yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah. Just open discussion, and then it's there's no ego. Brilliant.
Another cool thing that I also found myself doing is drawing on the crowd. So somebody
Hey,
comes
sorry.
along.
Sorry. I love that as an opener. Another cool thing I found myself doing. It's brilliant. Carry on. I love that. I need to start more things like that. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, just draw on the crowd's wisdom. So
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody's asked you a question, you have no clue how to answer it. So you know what? I have no clue, but does anybody else? And then
That's
give
it.
them the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That and inviting the audience as well. Here's a thing that I've done, which has really worked, which I've been very pleased with. Here's another cool thing I've done. There you go. I do the same. I do the same. I go, how can I point fingers? Um, if I've lost my way, so I get partway through and like I might have gone off a tangent or something's happened and it's brain's just gone blank. And I'll say where, and I'll ask the audience like, where was I? And I'm thinking, oh God, please, like someone, just anything at all. If generally an audience just see, it's easy for them. Like, well, they know exactly where you were. So someone will go, yeah, you were talking about this. And, and then it's easy. It's because they're not trying to carry all these things. It's obvious. So if you do that, yeah. So where was I? Can anyone remember? I was sure I was talking about this thing, and then they mention it, and then you can say, "Thank God you're here," which generally gets a laugh, and then away, and that's it. So yeah, opening up to them is really nice. I think it's also quite sort of egalitarian, right? You're supposedly the expert, but hey, if you've got an experience, here's another quite advanced level with that. You ask them a question. Have you got an example of this? Does anyone experience that? And then you work off that for a minute, and then you go, oh yeah, that's a really good thing. Isn't that wonderful? Like you're giving them a bit of a spotlight, and then they feel involved, and so yeah, yes, involve the audience if you can. Of course, it's entirely possible you ask the audience a question, you get nothing, in which case you're gonna have to carry on and say,
Yeah, and if you take a TEDx event, for example, there is no
yeah,
audience interaction. So you've actually got that closed from closed doors straight out from the
yeah.
way the
But
event is run.
you could ask a rhetorical question. It's like, so why should you care? Right, it's a good one, and then go, here we go. Who cares is always a good slide. Right. Any other questions?
I have one, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, especially since you are a comedian or were, like,
Was.
was. But like I've done like improv once or twice, and like I've toyed with like going to like Toastmasters and like things to just like, do you have any recommendations for people that are trying to get more comfortable in like public speaking?
Yeah, I mean, either of those would be brilliant. Toastmasters, from what I've seen, is really good in that you get brilliant feedback, highly detailed feedback, but you might not speak for more than a minute or so at a quite a long meeting, and it might only be once a week. But improv for definite. And are you familiar with the Second City? I only learned about them
Yes.
recently.
Yes,
Right.
there's one in
So
Toronto. Yeah.
Right. So I felt like such an idiot because I can't find the book now. So I could. It's not even published in this country, and I thought I know about comedy, and then I discovered the Second City, which I think is like a improv theatre. It's like the comic strip, if you know what that is, in the UK, but it's been going since like the 50s, and it's basically generated most of my favorite American comics, and it's just amazing. I think Stephen Colbert was there, and various people. And the principle of improv being yes and, so there's never a bad idea, and that's where this book is. But anyway, it's a very good book. But their point is they use it for business, so they go into businesses and help people with that. But to answer your question better, I think any speaking group at all is going to be great. I mean, stand up obviously is a terrifying thing to do, and improv maybe as well. But if you can do it, you'll learn lots. Yeah, I think anything at all where you're doing it in your own time and going and just taking those risks is great because then ultimately you see there is no real risk.
Well, I
Um,
would say also, Nicole, that I have actually started going to Toastmasters and I'm personally getting a lot of value from it. Um, one of the nice things about Toastmasters, and it's kind of engineered in this way, is quite a few. The idea is that as many people get to speak for as long as possible throughout the meeting, so everyone has a role. You've got multiple roles, so it's not just the people, delivering speeches. There's an impromptu section called table topics, but it's basically impromptu speaking. You've got a Toastmaster a day who basically runs the meeting. You've got a grammarian who gets them to speak and does a report on how people are speaking. There's lots of different roles, and the idea is that you get to some roles you speak for longer, but the idea is as many people as possible get to speak. I'd say give it a go. See what you think. It might be something you really like. It might be something that doesn't really tick your boxes, but
Okay.
definitely give it a go.
They do have free, you can attend for free before you become a member. So you can check them out and attend a few, see if you get the vibe, you get the feel for it, and
Right.
then join them. And it's a very nominal cost for what it actually gives you. I mean, John was talking about ums and ahs earlier. There's somebody who sits in Toastmasters whose job is to count your ums and ahs and tell you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've toyed with the thoughts, and like I said, I did an improv class that were like, it was basically like it was in Waterloo. I'm in Ontario, Canada, but
I studied
basically
there.
it started with
Ooh, yeah.
started with a story, and like the next person had to like build on the story, and it was like a 40-minute story that just went round and round and round.
Wow.
So it was really interesting, but like I'm not a theater person. I don't feel like I'm super funny or anything, but I just want to build on the presentation skills and being more comfortable, especially talking to large groups, because I am not comfortable with that. So okay, I'll check out all of those things. Thank you.
Yeah, and exactly the table you've just reminded me. I went to one in Guildford years ago, table topics, and I remember seeing people there and thinking, "Oh God, these guys are really good." But that would be brilliant for you, Nicole. Yeah, cool, good. Yeah, do that. That's your mission now. Brilliant. Right. Any other questions?
Can't see any more hands.
That's okay. That's
So
absolutely fine.
I'm sure people will reach out, John, if they have got
Yes,
any further questions.
absolutely. Yes, yeah. Feel free to get in touch. Yeah, on LinkedIn or website or whatever. Yeah, of course.
Great stuff. Right. So thank you once again, John. I did forget to ask if there's any more questions. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for reminding me.